F1 is funny, or at least it has a lot of hilarious and funny moments for us to go through, and so in this video, that's exactly what we're doing. And of course, I'm joined by James from Not Applicable F1. How are you doing, James?
I'm so excited to see what moments we're going over, because I feel like I've forgotten a few, and I cannot wait to just revisit them.
So in order to rank them all, we've got 5 different categories, starting off at the top with GOAT, obviously the best of the best. In behind that, Iconic, still really good, just not quite that top category. Made me chuckle, right in the middle. Below that, kind of funny, it did make you laugh, maybe a little bit of a nasal exhale. And then finally at the bottom, that happened. First off, an absolute classic. Gunther Steiner, one of his best lines.
And now we are a fucking bunch of wankers. Yeah, bunch of fucking clowns here.
Just for context, this is where Gunther was on the phone with Gene. They were 4th and 5th, and obviously didn't finish 4th and 5th.
Those moments where you can understand Gunther Steiner's frustration, but maybe just wait until you're behind closed doors.
I guess this was like one of those first moments that with Netflix, because I want to say this was like the first series as well, where it was like this was a behind the scenes moment, and it just set the bar, if you know what I mean, as in...
I think this is also one of the moments that made Gunther Steiner a Formula One main character.
So for category, I feel like even though it's the first one, this has to be up there.
Yeah, I think this might be GOAT. This is the start of Gunther Steiner as we know him, right?
If you were asked what is one Gunther moment, this is quite possibly it. Next up, a little bit out of left field, this one. This was from a few years ago. But do you remember the podium robots? in the COVID 2020 season.
I had completely forgotten about the robot.
Like, it's the fact that the drivers are just kind of stood there on their own. These little robots are just sort of coming along. And the fact that obviously there's someone who's got to be sat there controlling the robots, almost having like a little video game, presenting the trophies to the drivers.
It was just also really awkward because they were just, instead of being on like the big podium above the team, it was just them all on their own, nothing else happening, and then just watching this very slow robot bring over the trophies one by one.
Do you know what it's like? You know how trophies are normally presented by someone famous, so this is presented by the royal such and such or prince such and such. This one's just presented by R2-D2's F1 cousin. It's just, plodding along as he drops off the trophy. But whereabouts would you want to put this?
I think just because I've forgotten about it, it might be kind of funny.
Yeah.
And it's one of those ones that when you're reminded of it, you're like, oh yeah, that was ridiculous.
That's hilarious. Next up, we have Martin Brundle. There are a number of iconic Martin Brundle moments, but this one I think really set the tone.
Who are you supporting in the race? I can do that because I did.
It's a classic Martin Brundle moment where I think he just assumes everyone knows who he is, whereas there are definitely people who turn up to Formula One events who have probably never seen a Formula One race before.
Whereabouts do you reckon we're putting this one?
I wanted to say made me chuckle, but it also broke the internet for a while. There were proper debates on like celebrities and whether or not they should be allowed on the grid after this.
I don't know if I can. I mean, but it's iconic, but not for funny reasons, I guess. I think maybe we put it in Maybe Chuckle then for now and leave it sort of in the middle of the pack. So next up, an absolute classic, I would say. Carlos cites the meme after being told he had a 5-second penalty during his interview with Will Buxton.
Thanks for coming on. I believe you might have been called to the stewards, so we're going to have to let you go. I believe so. I just heard it through my ear. Is it Carlos who's been called to the stewards? Yes. We're going to have to... what for? What can we tell him? What for? Do we know what for?
It's become more of a thing just because any time a driver gets any kind of penalty, you will see this attached in some way or another.
It's effectively just become like the default meme for anyone that's had like something go wrong for them.
It's also just the fact that during the interview, he's told, and it's like he does like a little sway, then like looks up at the sky, and it's just like, how is this become?
It's like, how has this happened to me, basically? This is the face of how has this happened to me.
And then he remembers he's driving for Ferrari, and he's like, oh, that's how.
well, come 2025, he'll be, you know, free from that. Where are we thinking then? I mean, it's got to be towards the top, I think.
For me, this is definitely iconic, just because every single time you ever see any Carlos Sainz meme, this also becomes attached to it. And then, as you say, whenever we see any driver get a penalty, it's attached to that as well.
Yeah. Next up then, we have a moment from the 2021 season, Valtteri Bottas and his never-ending pit stop at the Monaco Grand Prix.
It was a weird one, wasn't it? It was the fact that when he came in, he was, second in the race behind Max Verstappen? And already that was a bit of a shock that he was ahead of Lewis Hamilton in this season. And then it just all went wrong.
I think it's the fact as well that they show his pit stop and you're like, okay, he needs a good stop here. And it's like, okay, it's a little slow. Okay, it's not going great. Okay, this is really bad.
Yeah, you know it's a bad pit stop when you retire from the Grand Prix because of it. It was also strange that Toto Wolff decided to blame Valtteri Bottas for this.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was another thing. He said he just didn't hit his marks.
Yeah.
It's like, bro.
So this guy's just lost out on a podium in Monaco, goes to his team boss, and his team boss is like, you were like 10 millimeters out from your pit stop box.
Yeah. Where are you thinking then as a funny moment?
I think it's that happened for me. I don't really hold it in that high esteem. I know it's like the longest pit stop ever, but apart from that, I don't really remember it for that much.
Next up then, we have Shaquille O'Neal on the podium at the American Grand Prix in 2021.
Oh, it's just the picture, isn't it? It's the picture.
It's just the fact that he's just so huge and so huge compared to F1 drivers who aren't like particularly big athletes.
Yeah.
They're all relatively small, and Shaq is just a giant.
It's kind of astounding how big he is in this. Especially because Lewis Hamilton is literally on like a foot plinth and is still smaller than Shaq.
And Verstappen's on like a mini mountain and it's only really like half a head taller as well. Like if you draw a line, he's only just bigger than Shaq. And I think as well, the thing that does it for me is, okay, like he's handing out trophies, he's a celebrity, fine. But then it's the fact that for the anthems, he just stood exactly where he is in the picture. He just stood in between them, just like, yeah, I'm here.
This is my spot now.
Oh, where's this going then? Where are we putting this one?
I think this is another made me chuckle. I think you don't see it often, but when you're reminded of it, it's a beautiful moment.
Next up, we have a meme for a literally complete meme. Lance Stroll replay, Monaco 2021. With the Crofty commentary as well. It's just brilliant.
They're going to go wheel to wheel up Beau Rivage here. Sebastian Vettel and Pierre Gasly. What has happened? We need to know.
Because I think at the time, it just like, it's the fact that it was Monaco and it was the timing of it. Just, you know, you had the cars going up the hill. I think it was Gasly and Vettel going up the hill. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's some action at Monaco. Something is happening. And then it was like cut away. And it wasn't even anything interesting. It was just, here's Lance Stroll going over a curb.
It was one of the most boring Monaco Grand Prix that we had. And that's saying something because it's Monaco. And it was the one piece of entertainment completely spoiled. And I think it's made worse that it's also Lance Stroll.
Yeah. Like if it was like, oh, we've cut to Max Verstappen hitting a curve, it'd be like, ooh, interesting. Or like we've cut to Charles Leclerc in Monaco. He wasn't in that one. Cool. So for a literal meme itself, whereabouts does this fit?
I think it's iconic, right? It's the same
as
the Carlos Sainz one. In that anytime something really funny happens, you can just chuck in the Stroll meme and it will make sense.
Like you just put it anywhere and people would be like, okay, I get what's happened here.
Yeah.
Okay, one from a little bit further back now. We have Charles Leclerc in his banana suit on Twitch. Like, it's just the image. Like, if you showed this to like an F1 fan who didn't really get Twitch, like out of context, they'd just be like, what is going on?
It's also the fact that, like, I like the fact that Charles really got into the Twitch stuff.
Yeah.
But He is a multi-millionaire race driver. There is no reason for him to do this.
For context, obviously, this is 2020 when COVID and there was no racing on, and so obviously you had the guys, the F1 drivers, the guys as if they're like my mates that I hang out with on like on a Friday evening. Like, you're right, Max, you're right, Charles, you're just catch up and hang out. No, but like effectively 2020 and nothing was on, so the guys started said it again.
The guys, the boys, Lando and the lads.
Not to drop names or anything, but friends with the guys. Whereabouts are we ranking this one?
Because it's Formula One adjacent. I think a lot of people won't have seen this. I think it's a kind of that happened.
Yeah.
And if you saw it, you saw it. But if you're in news of Formula One or you didn't follow any of the Twitch stuff, it probably passed you by.
Yeah, you have to like understand the kind of like why it's there, if that makes sense. So next up, I know you're a McLaren fan, James. Daniel Ricciardo smashing Lando Norris in the face with a space hopper.
I don't know if this is funny as much as assault at this point. Especially at this point in their kind of duo. This was Lando Norris really taking a step forward and like almost becoming the team number one in the eyes of basically everybody, whilst Daniel Ricciardo was having possibly his worst season in Formula One.
Yeah, it's just like, and he was having the worst season, and then they're there at Silverstone. They're like, look, we got to do something fun. We got to do something enjoyable. And so obviously they decide, we're going to have this space opera race. And Daniel's winning, and Lando decides, I'm just going to run past him. And Daniel's like, no, I can't have him beating me again. And just wham, smack in the face. And it's the like instant, like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And it's like...
It is just raw reactions from Daniel. But in the context of the season, it just makes it feel so much worse.
No, it's a good one. It's a good one for sure. I think, where are you thinking? I think top few. I don't know.
I think it's a made me chuckle. It made me chuckle. At the time, it was good. There was a good couple of like jokes that came from it. But I don't think in like a couple of seasons' time, it will really go down as one of the best moments.
No, I get what you mean. Sticking with the Lando Norris theme, one from this season, Lando Norris breaking Max Verstappen's trophy at the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Quite the moment. Like, you can see in Lando Norris's eyes, he knows he has done something terrible.
I remember at the time watching it and thinking, oh, did the trophy fall over there? Did something happen? And then you see like it cut around, like when they're showing the podium clips, and you're like, yeah, it did. And then afterwards, obviously everything happens. It's like he broke the trophy, and it's the fact as well. It's like a ceramic type trophy as well. It's not like he's knocked over like a big sort of sturdy chunk of metal. No, he chose the race where it's literally a kind of ceramic vase.
I think the thing for me was the fact that Max Verstappen at this point had won so many trophies that he turns around, sees his trophy smashed on the floor, and then just sort of giggles at Lando. He's like just not bothered.
They're just like, oh, this is funny. I think, where we put in this one, it's definitely at least kind of funny. Whether it's higher than that, I don't know. Like, there are a lot of memes about it. I feel like the joke ran for a while.
True. I was thinking kind of funny. I think, next season, it'll probably be mentioned at the Hungarian Grand Prix, but nowhere else.
Yeah, or unless he smashes another trophy, and then it's like...
That's true.
Yeah. Next up, one of my personal favourites, Sergio Perez partying post-Monaco 2022.
For me, this is absolutely like quintessential Sergio Perez. Like, it's one of the moments that when he does eventually retire, I will remember for the rest of my life. Like, it was just so funny at the time. But you can't really blame him. He had just won the Monaco Grand Prix.
And then it's the fact as well that he had to issue an apology, a public apology, to his wife.
Imagine winning the Monaco Grand. That's an up and down weekend for Sergio Perez, isn't it? He's won the Monaco Grand Prix, had the best night of his life, and then literally the day after, he's got to apologise for it to his wife.
It's just brilliant.
It's also the fact that Sergio Perez does not remember dancing with that woman.
No, 100%. Where are we thinking then? It's got to be nearer the top, I think.
I think, for me personally, this would go in GOAT, but I think in the sphere of Formula One, it maybe slots in iconic.
I could back iconic, I think. I think, as you say, it's a hilarious moment, but it's probably not everyone's, like, favourite moment kind of thing. Like, not everyone is like, that's hilarious, but it is, for me at least, it's iconic, I would say. Sticking on the Sergio Perez theme, a much more recent addition is his hilariously awkward interview at the start of the Las Vegas Grand Prix.
I mean, even this, I think this still tells the whole story. Just, I can't remember who this guy. Like, he's a really famous like boxing commentator.
He does the boxing
or something,
announcements,
right?
Yeah.
And it's the fact that he's screaming in Sergio Perez's face. And Sergio just has no idea what to do.
It's like a two-part where like he's screaming in his face, number one, and Sergio's just standing there smiling. And then he stops speaking and Sergio's like, okay, you going to interview me now? And he just sort of keeps looking at him like, okay.
Nobody seemed to tell Sergio Perez what was going on at all over the course of the Vegas weekend because he just was so lost for the entirety of it.
It's literally, he's just sort of there. You could just look at his face. Just look at his face. Oh, it's brilliant. Like, this is the type of thing where you could watch the clip 100 times and it would still be funny on the 100th time.
Yeah.
And I think for me, for that reason, like, it's got to go top tier this. Like, I think obviously it's recent, but I still think in a number of years, it will still hold its own.
I think every single Vegas Grand Prix, I will reference this in some way or another.
Next up, we're going to go somewhere else. I do have one more Twitch moment on here, which is Alex Albon screaming at George Russell for continuously crashing into him when they were Twitch and racing during 2020. I have to. It's not my personal favourite, I'd say, but it is funny every time you just hear it.
Oh, I said it way too much. I keep forgetting. George!
I think it's the fact that George knows exactly what he is doing, and Albon is like almost trying to take this whole race quite seriously.
I think for me, it's funny, but I think it kind of fits into that happened.
Yeah, it's another one of the Twitch moments.
It's like, unless it's brought up, it's probably not in those, you wouldn't really remember it overly, but it is still funny. Next one up, the GOAT. Of course, you know exactly who I'm talking about. It's Nicholas Latifi, and although there are many options probably for him, it's in his final season when in Japan, in the wet conditions, he just drove down the wrong bit of track and ended up facing the barrier and had to just turn around.
I didn't realize what it was until you started talking, and then instantly it filled me with the just pure cringe that I get from this moment. It's because first and foremost, it's Nicholas Latifi, so straight away it's just ridiculous. But it's second, doesn't he like blame the car for going the wrong way?
He says something like, I didn't know what happened there, or like the car, something funny with the car.
Yeah.
He's laughing at that. He's like, yeah, there's something funny. Something's not right with the car. But it's the fact that just an F1 driver fundamentally just drove in the wrong way.
How bad do you have to be in Formula One to not even know the track that you are racing on?
It's the fact that it's Nicholas Latifi as well. Yeah. Like, it's like we said with the Lance Stroll meme, it just adds that extra level. Like, if this was like Lando Norris, we'd be like, yeah, that's funny. But Nicholas Latifi just adds an extra level to it completely.
This was also like his final season where he was trying to justify
keep
his
his
place
seat.
in the Williams seat.
Whereabouts we thinking then?
For me, this is Nicholas Latifi's most iconic moment. Just the pure fact that he tried to wiggle out of it by pretending something had gone wrong with the car.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think when I look at all of Latifi's funny moments, like there's a lot of crashes and stuff, but this one is just like hilarious. So next up is another Gunther Steiner moment. There are many to choose from, but we have the Gunther Steiner ship from Netflix.
It's a wholesome Gunther Steiner moment, but it also points out the fact that Haas were in such financial turmoil that Gunther Steiner was willing to do almost anything for money at this point.
Yeah, I think it's like a fun Gunther moment. I think it's not like a hilarious one, I wouldn't say, but like it's a fun one. And I think as well what was good was a lot of the memes that came from it where the ship would just get bigger depending on how they did in the races. Like if Haas did well, it would increase and they would like get a bigger boat. It's like the money's gone up, boys, we can buy a yacht. Whereabouts we thinking then? I think for me, I want to say kind of funny.
Yeah, I think in the Gunther Steiner like Hall of Fame,
yeah,
this isn't as high as some of those other moments, but I definitely slot it still in kind of funny.
Yeah, it's definitely got some laughs. Okay, next up one which for me may well be the best ever, and that is Kimi Raikkonen. It's more like a hobby for me.
That's the hardest thing to do. It's not going to be easy. No.
It's more like a hobby for me, so obviously I don't need to do it if I don't want.
I love this clip so much. It's just the energy Kimi brings. It's like if you were to summarize Kimi, they've just done it perfectly.
It is quintessential Kimi Raikkonen, isn't it? It's like, okay, we all understand that Kimi at this point, you know, is winding down his career. Okay, he's been kicked out of Ferrari, but he is still a Formula One driver. And like, there's only 20 of them in the world, and he's just not bothered. Absolutely couldn't be bothered.
He's literally just like, yeah, I don't really care, and just openly said it.
Yeah.
Is there any debate with this one? It's got to be GOAT tier.
Yeah, it's GOAT tier. I think just because it's Kimi Raikkonen, it's also GOAT tier.
Next up then, from Kimi Raikkonen to a slightly less prestigious driver, Lance Stroll driving around the wet in Russia when his radio engineer said, "Could you stay out?" And he instantly replied, "Yes," and then crashes.
Can you stay out on this condition? Can you stay out? Yes!
It's another Lance Stroll moment where you're just like, how has this man been on the Formula One grid for this long and still getting away with it?
It's just the timing. You know what they say, a lot of comedy is just timing, and Lance Stroll did it perfectly here.
It also comes off the back of like you got to remember a couple of seasons ago, he's got that pole position in Turkey. People were like, oh, Lance Stroll, he's a wet weather specialist. And then he just slides slowly into the barrier.
To be fair, though, it could be worse for some people in this race. No one in particular. Where are we putting Lance Stroll then? I think it's a funny one, but I don't think it's reaching the others. I kind of want to say it's either kind of funny or that happened.
I think it's good enough to be kind of funny, but
again, Lance Stroll elevates it.
Has so many moments is the problem.
I feel like, again, if it wasn't Lance Stroll, it wouldn't be as funny, but because it is Lance Stroll, it is. Next up then, from one Aston Martin driver to another, Sebastian Vettel riding on his moped around the Australian Grand Prix. And Sebastian Vettel, it's like the session finishes and we just cut to him riding his moped. He's nicked from like some marshal on the side of the track.
I think that's the thing, right? How has he convinced someone to give him a moped?
It's like the fact that he was like helmet slightly off,
Yeah.
and like no hands. He's just clearly there. Like, I'm just having fun. You can't do anything.
I feel like this is the point where Sebastian Vettel knew he was retiring at the end of the season. He was just like, I really don't care about any of the repercussions for this.
Where do we think this goes? I feel like for me it sits in this made me chuckle.
Yeah.
It's
a made me.
Yeah, like it does. It is funny. And I feel like it's more than those, just because like it's Seb, and it's the no hands, it's the helmet, it's just everything. Next up, I'm going to Miami, and from this year, we have Jackie Stewart fighting off security during Martin Brundle's grid walk, so that he can get him an interview with Roger Federer.
I love that Jackie Stewart, like, obviously, he knows that at a Formula One race, 99% of the people there see him as an absolute legend and just know instantly who he is, and he can get away with whatever he wants. But this one security guard clearly does not know who Jackie Stewart is.
But yeah, Jackie Stewart effectively just deciding, no, I'm coming through here, and the security guard's being like, no, we don't really know who you are, and the fact that he just persists.
The other thing that got me was like, do you think Roger Federer knows who Jackie Stewart is?
Just turns around. It's just some
really
random
confused
old Scottish man who's just like, come with me.
Come with me and have one of the most awkward interviews about Mercedes you'll ever have in your life. I think just for the fact it's Jackie Stewart, we can put it into the iconic category.
I think in like a couple of years, it's one that I will happily remember. And finally, one more for our man, Gunther Steiner, Netflix special, when Kevin Magnussen smashed his door.
He's not fucking doing that to me, you know? He does not fuck smash my door. Tell him that.
This is one of those, like, if you're asked to think of a Gunther Steiner moment, it's just up there.
Yeah, this one, it's also one that's kind of rolled on for Gunther Steiner, because, like, was it Nikita Mazepin who, like, bought him a door? Or, like, something
yeah,
like
he
that?
bought him a door to smash, and when Steiner bought him a spinning top. Oh, God. That's a moment as well.
Yeah.
Would you say this goes up
like,
at the top?
Yeah, I know we've already got a Gunther Steiner moment in GOAT, but I think this also just goes in GOAT. I think this is us pointing out just how much the Formula One world is now missing.
Yeah, it honestly, it's just brilliant. It's just one of those moments that it just makes you laugh again and again and again. It's just the tone, the context, just everything. The storming off down the paddock. Poor Kevin Magnussen's manager just gets like an earful.
Yeah.
So you tell him that. But anyways, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. We've had so much fun making this video. If you've enjoyed it, let us know down in the comments. What did you think of the tier list? Let us know what moments we've missed, and most definitely, if you guys want it, we'll be doing a part 2. There are so many more moments to go through. But until next time, take care.